Oh, hello there. How are you? I hope you're glad to be here tonight for yet another Mistborn adventure game narrator turn. If you're wondering why I'm talking so strangely, it's because I don't know. I have no idea. All right, so we're back and we have a thing to do, right? We've got a thing we want to do here. Let's put on some light background music and get around to writing some twists. I feel like the most important part of starting this is going to be mapping a bit of information about. Well, let's bring up my Mistborn file. Mapping a bit of information about the NPCs we have right now. So one NPC we're not going to care about is Milos. Right, Milos, this guy is an extra. He has no stats and is taken out in one hit. You might remember Milos showing up at the end of the episode. It's kind of like a dude that's just there to get killed. Or just to be like, Milos. So, we got a couple of different things. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Francine. She's pretty important. So Francine has upped her charm level. She took an advancement in charm. And she also took an advancement in pewter burning. So when she burns pewter, she takes 1 less damage from physical attacks. She's really hard to kill right now. Like, she's very strong. Wolfram Holstrag. Nothing really changing here. Yeah, I really need to really reorganize this whole area. But, we have a couple new other folks. We got Grable. We got Fenric the Houseless, who is a Lurcher. We should probably get stats for him. We got a lot of different things to hook up on. Sorry, I'm a little scattered here. Okay. So, Wolfram, he's at full everything. He's good. Wolfram is currently working on getting House Trelbina on his side. Specifically, he's been spending a lot of time soothing Postwick Trelbina. So he just follows Postwick around and soothes away his disgust at Wolfram, which we've seen Wolfram do before. Like, anytime Wolfram interacts with people, he tries to soothe them so that they'll be more accepting of his presence. And Wolfram's just trying to go and, like, hook up with Trelbina and get a marriage contract with Francine. Even though he's an older dude, and Francine is, like, at least half his age, probably. Maybe a bit more. This is totally, like, in-universe, a thing that would happen. And, yeah. He's trying to attack, like, emotional, mental conflict on Postwick to just break him down and be like, okay, fine, you can marry Francine. It's time to unite our houses. This guy, Obligator Troll 1 Victus. We've actually not seen a huge amount of him on screen. He's the Obligator that showed up during the first party in episode 1 and was watching over Francine. He's pretty damn important. He hangs around. He's like one of the Obligators that just hangs around the house of Trelbina. He's trying to, like, get Francine to join the Canton of Orthodoxy and, like, make her an Obligator because of her pewtering. And more importantly, he's, like, trying to get with that. You know what I mean? So, here's the issue. He's a bronze burner. He's a seeker. And what's happened is that he was at the house while Vyse and Valette were making out with Francine. And so he knows now that both Vyse and Valette are, at the very least, Allomancers. And he's a palfrone of Seeker that he was able to trace who Valette was using her power on and what purpose she was doing it with. So he knows, and thus Postwick knows, that Valette is a rioter, a brass burner, I'm sorry, zinc burner. But more importantly, that she was attempting to riot her own brother into making out with Francine. We'll get back to this later. But that's a very important thing. The fact that both Vyse and Valette willingly stepped in and kind of placed themselves into a subservient position in regards to Francine is going to be something that comes back to bite them. But they did get what they want out of that conversation. So, what do I know? Nothing has changed with Francine's uncle, Postwick Trelbina. Nothing changes here. He's not an Allomancer. He's not a Mistborn. He maintains his position through his influence and his money and his wits. He's just a typical head of a house. What he is going to do... I don't know where to put this. Maybe I'll like tag it here. So here's the deal. Postwick knows Valette riding Vyse and Vyse making out with Francine. Now, I think when asked about it, Francine would just say that she was making out with Vyse and that Valette was just maybe like doing something and didn't participate in it because it would be really, really awkward to have a conversation with your uncle. But more importantly, with your uncle's priest, like, oh yeah, we were having a totes three-way, like a totes bisexual three-way. That's not the kind of thing that happens in this universe. That's the kind of thing that has you disappear in the night. Or maybe your whole house is brought down to ruin by the obligators. So, Francine's playing it off like Valette was just doing a favor for her. And during this dinner party, the scene that we're currently at, Postwick is going to say things like really inflammatory stuff. Like, oh, Vyse, I've often heard that people that burn tin experience greater sensations. Have you also heard that? All right. So that doesn't seem like a really weird thing to say. I mean, he is going to be implying that Vyse might be an Allomancer. All right. But then he's like, I wonder if anyone has tried burning tin while having sex. And everyone's going to be like, what? Jaw drop? What an inappropriate thing to say. And then he's going to be like, oh, I apologize. And later on in the meal, he's just going to be talking to Valette with the same kind of deal. Like, oh, what a riotous evening we're having. I can't believe, how much I feel. Keep dropping hints along the lines like, I know what you did. I know that you used your brother as like a token piece on a board to get closer to Francine. You're kind of ruthless, Valette. And Postwick's going to keep implying that stuff, hoping someone picks up on it. All right. So, that's Postwick. That's Postwick life. Oh, we do have a Fenric houseless. All right. Yeah, he's got there. Oh, I need to erase that too. Yep, she's fine. Okay, so let's talk about the most important person, and you better be ready for some spoilers because Risha Mercer and Saragius are related. in a way that I'm about to fucking blow your mind about. You ready? Saragius, as we know, is a Kandra that's owned by Risha Mercer. So, at some point, we're going to have to get to talking about twists. We're going to talk about the sidewaysness of the plan. But here's how the entire plan went sideways. Specifically laying political groundwork for the House Wars. The twist here is that the war started before the party did. Risha Mercer returns to town. Her father is dying of an illness. They have to fake his death in, like, being stabbed to death. So he's like, oh no, I've been poisoned, I'm dying. And she's like, okay, Dad, I'm back. Let's do this thing. I'm still a Mistborn, and I guess I'm ready to kick some ass. And her dad's like, no, wait. If I die of an illness, it'll make our house look really weak. You gotta find who poisoned me and kill them. And she's like, wait, Dad, I'm a little busy. Now that I'm back here, I'm gonna go see the guy that I love, you know, Arturo, and unite our houses. With our powers combined, I'll be able to lay waste to the city. And her dad's gonna be like, but wait, Arturo's actually married now. And she's like, what? So, the House War is starting. It is to kill Odalys. That is Risha's objective, is to kill either Odalys or Arturo, or both. So, Saragius was killed a few days before we saw him in his office and replaced by Kandra. His purpose has been specifically to pull Arturo into that office, right? Saragius, a.k.a. the Kandra Vandrel, had his own business on behalf of the Kandra Council to talk to Arturo, a.k.a. KinSay, but in fact, he was also ordered by Risha Mercer to be Saragius in order to mess up his funding like that and force him to get into that office so that she could stalk him for a little while and get an eye on Arturo and see what's up with him. And that's why we keep seeing her in the background of so many scenes. She's trying to, like, sniff his butt out. So who is Risha? Risha, when she was very young, if you've been reading the novels, you know that the Valette, not the one on our show, but the actual Valette, who is also Vin. And for brevity's sake, I'm actually just going to say Vin from now on. Vin gets outmaneuvered at the nobility parties pretty early on. Like, she falls into some of the classic blunders. Some noble women get the better of her. Specifically, one that was acting as an informant senses Vin's plans, aka Kelsier's plans, to drop certain information, and is like, oh, obviously that information isn't true, but here, let me feed you some bullshit that you might think is true. Also, your boyfriend's about to die. And it pretty much wrecks Vin. And she, like, has a mental breakdown over it, and then murders a bunch of people afterwards. Risha had the same thing, except the thing that got outed by her was her status as a Mistborn, which was huge. Like, when she was very young, she lost her status as a, like, secret Mistborn, and everybody knew about it, and she just retreated into the countryside in shame, and has been out there practicing her powers. And this is the really important one, copper. She's been, it's called smoking when you're using copper. She's been smoking like a fucking beast. And I'm going to give her a couple copper stunts, including one that allows her to extend her copper cloud to everyone around her, and will break any incoming or outgoing or ongoing emotional allomancy. And this is important because it's going to break the connection between Wolfram and Postwick. She knows that that's happening. She knows that they're trying to get closer together. Specifically, Postwick is being duped by Wolfram via soothing, and she's going to get in there and just fucking break that relationship in half by keeping Postwick from being soothed. And he's going to be like, God damn, Wolfram, you're so annoying. I forgot about how annoying you were. As a side effect of this, it also means that Valette, the Valette of our show, will not be able to use her powers because Risha is going to fucking wreck that shit. So, let's go ahead and get Risha's stats here. As a full-blooded Mistborn wrecker. Alright. 538. Upper Cloud, blah, blah, blah. Here we go, Mistborn. We have some fan art coming out on Monday by Aerocyto, by the way. I have not seen it. I'm told it is amazing. It is of Risha, and that makes me super happy because Risha is definitely going to be a very large part. And while I'm talking, I want to indicate, by the way, there's a scene I definitely want to see, and that is Evelyn and Francine fighting over Vyse. I want to see that. I want to see Evelyn and Vyse and Francine all in like this three-way battle for love. Where Evelyn's like, no, I need him for the revolution. And Francine's like, no, I need him because I own him. And see where that ends up. We already know that Evelyn's like a regular person and that Francine is a pewter burner. So it's going to be a one-sided physical battle probably. Something else I want to introduce is that Risha is a scholar, so I'm going to go ahead and give her a trait like that. Her trait include overconfident, scholarly, and noble killer. Like she's been practicing for a long time to kill a nobility. She also has knowledge of Electrum. And she's packing Adium. So yeah, she's pretty much fucking set. She is like an in-game boss. She's going to be very powerful. The Electrum is going to allow her to act defensively, and the Adium is going to let her attack offensively at a much higher rate than she would normally be able to. So let's get this copper cladding going down. So she has extend mental protection, which allows all characters within her range to no longer suffer emotional allomancy. And I think larger copper cloud, so that she can protect like entire parties. She will never again get wrecked like she did as she was as a child. So there we go. So when she burns Electrum, she'll gain a number of defense die equal to her Electrum score, which is 4. And when she burns Adium, she'll gain a number of offense die equal to that, which is equal to 4 as well. Which means she's going to be able to put a lot of die into offense and defense. She'll be able to do quite a few things. And probably we're going to see her with multiple defensive. Like, she can go 1 versus 4 on the party and comfortably spend 3 or 4 dice on defense for each of them, while also remaining like an entirely offensive beast. All right. So that's Risha. I think we got everybody covered. Fenric. Fenric is kind of a red herring here. I introduced Fenric because Virgil was looking for somebody to eat and overcome. And he can do that, definitely. Fenric is not like this huge, badass, super secret spy. But the reason Wolfram has given him to the House of Martell is specifically to spy on them. That's that was the complication. She was just like, here you go. Or I'm sorry, he was just like, here you go, take this guy. Wolfram is just a bit arrogant in thinking that he can definitely crush Arturo and the Martells when he has not just his house's military, but also the forces of Francine's house, Trelbina, behind him. As it is, his influence score of 8 is definitely much, much better than anybody in the Martell party, and he stands a much greater chance of being able to pull in the military at short notice. Because that's the thing you can do. You can be like, oh, I get the obligators to hand me an army, or I buy an army of like 2,000 men. It's a difficulty 3 or 4 test. That's going to be extremely hard for the Martells to do, and fairly simple for him to do. There's a question. Does Risha know that KinSay is a Kandra? No. I didn't wrap that up. So, Risha's plan during the party is to just continue to break relationships up by stopping the emotional allomancy, and then getting Arturo alone on the rooftop after she's gonna like riot and soothe Milos and get Milos to be like, my lord, I need you on the rooftop, because he's just like so blasted out of his mind that Risha is just wrecking Milos. Much in the same way that she had happened to her. And then once he's on the rooftop, Arturo, she's going to confront him and be like, why aren't we still secretly in love? Why did you marry this whelp of a girl? I thought I was your sunset. I thought I was your everything. And you haven't sent me a letter in 10 years. Stuff like that. Like, I heard you used to beat your wife, but now you're best friends. Like, I thought we were waiting to be together. And either it's going to be Arturo agrees to break off the relationship with Odalys and marry Risha, in which case Risha gets the happy ending she wants and starts a fucking house war with whoever Arturo's enemies are. Or, on the flip side, Arturo disagrees and she kicks him off the fucking roof and then plants evidence that makes it look like Milos did it. Right? And that's the kicker for the house war. And that's going to be a probable path that happens, and I don't know that the players can do a lot to protect that. Definitely, the Kandra can survive being kicked off a roof. Even if normally Arturo wouldn't be able to, a Kandra will definitely survive being kicked off a roof. And it's also a perfect time to leave behind the body and just go schlooping blooping out, right? Because now the person you're supposed to be should theoretically be dead. However, there are some things that could be done to stop this situation. Either way, Risha's plan is to get Arturo on her side or kill him. That's the end game there. And if she can imply that Wolf from Holstag was behind it the whole time, that means that she can start enlisting aid from like Harventure or Postwick Trolbina to destroy Holstag. At the same time, destroying Martell. Basically, she just wants to burn everyone. If it wasn't that obvious, she's kind of like a dangerous psychopath at this point. She's been sidelined for 10 years. She spends all of her time fighting on a farm. And probably, like, killing her ska. Just to, like, practice killing people. Risha Mercer pretends to be a normal, average, everyday person in the nobility. She's like this perfect, noble princess, but in fact, she's like more like Kelsier than anyone else. She's so tired of the nobility stomping on people like her that she's now going to kill all of them. Yeah, so Risha's about to go nuts up on this shit. I think that covers it as far as the relationship map goes. I feel like I want to do something with Evelyn, but I don't know what to do. So if you guys have any suggestions about her future, I mean, I want to see Evelyn versus Francine fighting for Vyse's affection, and I mean that in a physical way. Like, they're literally going to kick the shit out of each other. It would be, I think, in my mind, it would be an incredible scene. So, let's start laying down some twists, right? This has already happened, so we don't need this anymore. Make sure I'm on the GM page. Yep, okay, I would hate for the players to accidentally see this. And the twist here is that House War has already begun via Mercer. Enemies and allies. I mean, allies at this party, they're definitely rocking Francine, theoretically on their side. Evelyn, definitely, and Gare. Their enemies are Postwick, Wolfram, Risha. I don't know where to put Harventure. Har's like a wild card. I don't really have much planned for him, except at some point to just be like, boom, I'm fucking Harventure. We're following the storyline of the novels, but we're about to get spoiled a bit here about the future. Kelsier's rebellion starts in Luthadel, right? But fails to kill the Lord Ruler. Like, Kelsier gets murked, Vin gets killed, everybody gets wiped out, the rebels are wiped out. Straff is preparing to leave Luthadel like he does in the books, and then never does. So while Har's here preparing for Straff to come back to basically rule the city, that never happens. And so Har's just kind of left in charge, like, I don't know, I guess I'm in charge of the Har, like the Venture family thing. And the Lord Ruler is still in control of Luthadel. So, it's basically the darkest timeline version of the first Mistborn book. And it's definitely going to be a turning point insofar as whatever happens. I'm definitely going to use Risha as like a fencing sword or a wedge. There's going to be some point where she's like, well, fuck it. It's time to start the House War. Do what I say, Arturo, or else. And his choice there is going to have a huge impact on the rest of the campaign. Now, what's funny, I hadn't discussed this yet. We'll be continuing the show. We will. After week 4, we'll be switching to Fridays. I think it's Fridays. Yes, it's definitely Fridays. So, it'll be broadcast around this time on Fridays. But, kicker part, we're going to be losing Virgil. So KinSay, this is the last KinSay episode we're going to see. This is the last Arturo episode we're going to see. We're thinking about bringing in a replacement. We're going to work on it. But no Virgil. So, this turning point is twice as important because whatever Virgil does, whatever KinSay and Arturo do, they're going to be steering the rest of the game even if they aren't there. The ghostly hand of Virgil will be on the helm of the ship. If he gives in to Risha and, like, breaks the house up in order to marry her to protect his actual, well, I mean, his, like, fake actual family, that's one thing. And if the house war kicks off because of his stubbornness, that's a whole nother thing. So let's talk about taking care of Postwick. This is pretty open-ended. We need some twists here. And I'm willing to throw out to the crowd for help. I feel like one possible twist. I don't wanna like put it set in stone, but I'm gonna put possible twist. Is an encounter getting Francine on the Martell side. And that'll almost certainly be Francine coming in and, like, marrying Vyse and getting some sort of obligator contract that locks her in as, like, the house's heir. Like, if Odalys and Arturo get taken out, Francine would be the new head of the house and her kids would have, like, first pick of the heirship. I think that would be something. See, they haven't really established too much about how they want to take care of Postwick, then I'm a little hesitant to throw twists in there without knowing that. Definitely allies here are going to be allies as Evelyn. They've established it's going to be a physical combat. Fenric, probably on their side for this one. Enemies, hard to say, right? Obviously Postwick. But we also have the possibility of Wolfram jumping on either side, Francine jumping in on either side, Risha, who the hell knows. And we know that, oh, you know who's going to be an enemy? Trellwan. Trellwan is the Obligator, and he would be an extremely dangerous enemy to have. So they need to cover their tracks and swoop in at the end of the war. I'm not certain this is going to be possible. I think I'm derailing their plot a bit more than I should be with my own personal Risha Mercer plot, but we'll see. Let's see what could happen. Obligator. So what could go wrong is definitely Obligators. And what don't they know is the Hofstag Trelbina. So I definitely feel like at least one twist here is that Obligators looking into the death of Seragius. Because either way, at that dinner party, Seragius is not going to survive. His contract, a.k.a. Vandel's contract, is to show up. You know, he's being used as a cat's paw to maneuver Arturo into position for whatever Risha's plan is. And then he's gone, and his death can be pinned on whoever Risha wants it to be. And if that has to be the Martell family, then it will be. So that's one possible twist. Another possible twist is if Trellwan survives, he will be investigating this. And it'll definitely be an extended conflict. Not one of those contests that we do, where it's just one roll versus one roll. This will be like over the course of days. It'll take place like every roll would be like over a three-day period, and it'll be a certain amount of time before he either wins or takes enough damage to his reputation that he doesn't feel it's worth investigating anymore. But he's a pretty devoted obligator. I mean, they don't make you an obligator of the Canton of Orthodoxy because you lose faith quickly. That's kind of the opposite of what they do. So he'll probably have to nearly destroy himself doing this, but he will be initiating a social combat to implicate their house, maybe whatever it takes to separate them from Francine, and also find the truth. I mean, truth is important here. Their enemies here are definitely, absolutely going to be Trellwan. Let's put enemies in. Enemies. Trellwan. Any obligator at all. We might have to introduce some new obligators depending on how things shake out and who's alive and who's dead. I don't think they're going to get a lot of allies here, but they do have Gare, and they do have Evelyn, who will undoubtedly be willing to go to bat for them. And depending on how the storyline shakes out, Francine could definitely be on their side, which would be really good because Francine has a considerable influence score. Dual Wolfram when he's weak after the war. See, I don't want to really get to this. I feel like I don't have to twist this because it's going to be weird if we get this far. It's going to be a hell of an episode. There's probably going to be a lot of every type of combat, but specifically there's going to be physical combat and someone's going to die. Definitely there's going to be death. Yeah. Now there was some questions from my partners in crime, my players, as to whether we could get some tragedies and destinies going on. I would love to have a scene with Vyse where he's dreaming of the time when his sister murdered his mother right in front of him. Like, he walks in the room and his sister just fucking stabs his mother to death. Confronting that will probably be a huge step for Vyse as a character to like separate him and his sister a bit. They're not just getting close, they're getting like sexy incest close right now. They're willing to go full ham on Francine in a way I hadn't anticipated. I was like, surely they're not going to do this. They did it. They did it. Of course they did it. So that's what we got. I think we're at the end here. I'll write out some of the secrets I discussed earlier, but yeah. You got a bit of a line on what's been happening, what's going to happen, and how you can play the Mistborn adventure game. I have to say, I thought of it the other day, and this game is the opposite setup of what you see in most games. The GM is like, oh, I've got this really cool plot, guys, you should play it. And then the players are like, either, wow, that was a really cool plot, or, you know, my character wanted to do something different, and maybe I got a little railroaded on it. Mistborn adventure game is different. You ask the players specifically what they want to do, and then ask them to build weaknesses into the plan to make things awesome. And then you, as the GM, derail their plot. It's not they derail your plan, like it normally would be, where they're like, oh man, Japan, let's go there, let's fly over to Japan real quick. No, you are the one derailing them. They're like, oh man, we're going to take care of Postwick and lay down the ground for a house war, and it's going to be like, surprise! Risha Mercer's here to mess everything up. The house war's already begun. She's killing people left and right. Yeah. So I really like that turnaround. I feel like it empowers the players a lot and gives the GM a bit of something different to do. Anyway, thank you for joining me tonight. This has been an interesting episode. I'm glad that we'll be continuing this show on Friday nights. And, you know, I'll see you on Monday for the last Monday episode of Mistborn as we say goodbye to Virgil. Ba-ba-da-da-da-ba-ba.